time for the Maximum PC No BS podcast, episode 228 for the week of July 14th, 2014. On today's show, we actually have some special guests from MSI's notebook division. Hopefully, they'll be able to talk about their new products and discuss the future of gaming notebooks and laptops and such. In addition to picking, their brains, we have some questions from you guys as well. So all that and more is coming up right now. Okay, cool. Thank you for listening. I am your host, Jimmy Thang, and joining me as usual are Tom McNamara.
Greetings.
Elena Yee.
Hello.
And our special guest, our MSI Associate Marketing Manager, Vincent Chen.
Hello.
And MSI Product Manager, Clifford Chun.
Hey.
And I believe you guys have brought in some new toys for us to look at. Can you sort of walk us through what we're seeing?
Yes, we have a really nice, shiny new powerhouse that we want to show you guys today. For those of you who are already familiar with MSI laptops, our GT series, there has been a lot of demand for a revamp, a redesign of the series, and this is the GT72. This is the answer to that call. If you can see it here, just from looking at the outer shell here, if you're already familiar with our brand, the design already looks really nice and clean. It's a one solid chassis build. It's a full brush aluminum build, featuring our insignia gaming shield, and as well as a really nice brushed aluminum inspired design from our actual GS series, our thin and light series, if you're familiar with that as well. So let's just jump into the actual design of the laptop. We actually wanted to focus more in regards to our whole gaming theme, the whole red and black. So we've added a little touch of that to the design of this laptop. For instance, like if you can see here on the lid, there's like a slight accent of red on the trim here.
Very cool.
And on the back as well of the laptop, you have the rear vents.
Yeah.
That
try holding it to the camera too.
There
you guys are watching on the YouTubes. Cool.
And the bottom as well.
Oh. So
the bottom grill, as you can tell, it's a very, very clean, streamlined design, much more cutting edge compared to the existing GT series design. Everything has a little touch of that red and black here. And we really, really want to, we pride ourselves on our gaming series line, so we want to make sure that the GT72 redesign really brings that out for our gamers. And
so if you're not watching this on video, it's actually, it's a bit, beefier notebook. It's not.
Yes, the GT series has always been like our more powerhouse top-end desktop replacement series. Mm-hmm. So the GT72 is no different. But in terms of design, the GT72 is a lot lighter and more portable than the actual current existing GT70. It still has the same amount of power, if not more, but it is actually a lot lighter. And in terms of design, it's a lot more solid too. So we've made a lot of improvements while making it more portable. As for a desktop replacement, it's actually not too heavy.
Okay. What is the weight?
Yeah, how much did you guys shave off?
So right now it's weighing around 8.5 pounds around there. That's considerably lower than what we had before. If you actually we have a unit here actually, a GT70, but for you guys to actually feel if you want to. But you will notice a significant difference in terms of weight.
Yeah,
and also the thickness that we cut it down to 48 millimeters, so it's much thinner. So it's compared to our previous generation, it's much more portable. It's much easier to fit into any backpack out there that actually can go alongside with the unit.
Cool.
Yeah. So design-wise, again, significant differences in terms of the old and the new. Let's go into the actual internal and open the lid here just to see what it looks like on the inside now. So again, if you are familiar with our GT series, you will notice that the actual design of the system is also very much more modernized, much more cleaner in terms of how it looks. Our GT770 series was using more plastic here and there and a more island style keyboard layout. But in a GT7 II, we've actually revamped that and turned the whole chassis into one solid aluminum chassis here. So in terms of design, you will get less flex in terms of actual like keyboard tactile feedback. It feels a lot more. You will feel that you're actually pressing down on those keys and you feel that response.
Yeah, it feels a lot sturdier to me because before you had a lot of little bend and crackling.
Exactly. Yeah, because previously I have a couple different pieces together, and it's kind of like island type. This one is a single piece, which is harder to make for different countries and stuff like that. But we like to go with this one because we were able to do a full back plate in order for it to keep the keyboard like flat for a better response.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if there was a back plate underneath.
Yeah, so there's a full back plate like right underneath the keyboard membranes and stuff like that. So it's much harder to manufacture, but in the same time, it's a better feedback and better text and also better feel for when you play the games. And also in the front, in here, we have a pseudo glass materials right here, which actually is good for avoiding fingerprints on it. It's much easier to clean the fingerprints out from there, alongside with a frameless touchpad area. So it's a seamless feel. What is good for is our unit, when you plug in the mouse, the gaming mouse next to it, then it automatically shut off the touchpad. By doing so, when you're playing the unit, your hands is not actually bumping into that grid area, but we still keep the two full buttons where everyone is asking for.
Yeah, I do like that because some companies will integrate it together into the trackpad, and it gets kind of like into this gray area of where the buttons are, and as opposed to the trackpad. So
yeah,
that's pretty nice. Can you talk about the specs?
Okay, so this unit's the highest specs possible can go the Core i7. We are going to roll out with 880 graphic card from NVIDIA GeForce. It's also have a 4 DIMM slots of memory, which is 32 gig max. And also we upgrade the hard drive options. We're the first one to come out the Super RAID, which is running the mSATA SSD in RAID 0 format. And then the last gen we come out with 3 mSATA SSD. So this one we come out with 4 M.2 SATA SSD running in RAID 0. So at most you can run 4 times 128 plus a 1 terabyte hard drives on the side. So that's what the hard drive configuration is. Obviously we do have the Blu-ray options on the side too.
So if you wanted to, you could put in any sort of 2.5-inch drive in there?
It already have a 2.5 drive on top of the full SSD.
Okay.
Yeah, plus a ODD on the side.
Is that only offered in one size, or is there a range? You mentioned 1 terabyte, so I wasn't sure if that was it or if there was.
We usually use 1 terabyte, but depending on different configurations, sometimes we do a different size too.
Yeah. Is this a 17.3 inch?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Cool. Do you guys? Is this the only thing? I noticed you guys bringing 2 laptops in, or I don't know if there was.
We actually, well, in terms of we did bring 2 laptops. There was the other laptop that we bought is a workstation laptop.
Gotcha.
This is not
so we have been doing a lot of high-end gaming notebooks and stuff like that, and another high-end notebook area other than gaming is workstation, with a Quadro workstation. We work really close with NVIDIA to put a Quadro card into our GS series. So this one, what we call is the WS60, the workstation slim 15.6 inch. So in this unit, it's the thinnest and lightest of the workstation out there. It's just less than 2 pounds. It's less than 1 inch thick. Alongside with putting a K2100M graphic card inside. The screen wise, we have up to a 3K option. So we have a Full HD option and 3K options. So what's good about this unit is we believe that the K2100M is equivalent enough for a lot of people out there that do rendering on the spot, because there's a lot of students who do a lot of engineering stuff, and also a lot of designers like to carry laptops around. So that's the whole idea why we want to build something really thin and light for the workstation customers.
Yeah, I was talking to Razer, and this laptop chassis is very similar to like the Razer Blade 17 inch, and Razer was saying that they were surprised by how many work professionals and work enthusiasts were purchasing what is essentially is a gaming notebook for work.
Yeah, correct. So we actually have the same equivalent gaming laptops, the GeForce version out there, which we call the GS70 Stealth, which is the 17-inch, and the GS60 Ghost. I personally use the 15-inch because I fly around a lot. So that 15-inch is perfectly for me to fly and not actually taking over someone else's space next to me. But by using the Quadro card, equivalent on maybe a K3100M graphic card, the performance-wise for work is much better than an 880 graphic card in the GeForce area. So it's different graphic card will actually use for different stuff.
And what applications does
so like the Quadro, like our unit in here, we qualify through Adobe, SolidWorks, a lot of stuff like CATIA. A lot of customers use CATIA, which do like a fluid dynamic and stuff like that. There's a lot of designers use Adobe Photoshops, and also SolidWorks stuff is also used for that kind of design stuff.
What I know you guys aren't NVIDIA, but what makes the Quadro GPU more efficient for those type of applications?
It's actually how the algorithm works. GeForce is majorly going through all the polygons and stuff like that, and Quadro is usually more on the particle and also how the texture and stuff like that, like what kind of algorithm it actually runs. So it's two different algorithms. So that's the whole reason why the GeForce is majorly for playing games, which is actually calculating all the polygons and stuff like that. Yeah.
And does this have an IPS screen?
Yes. So the 3K option is a IPS screen, like the one that we have right now is a 3K screens.
Okay. Cool. Which is actually pretty good for Photoshop editing and stuff like that, where you need like,
and also like the mini DP output of this unit can go support a 4K screens. So for whoever's doing a 4K video or something like that, then they can go ahead and just use the mini DP out. Alongside that thing is also a Thunderbolt. So it's also a Thunderbolt port for whoever's need, a very high speed connections for hard drives or any Thunderbolt devices that they're using.
I think we're beginning to see a lot of super sharp above 1080p resolution monitors in laptops and stuff like that. The laptop that I'm reviewing right now from Eurocom is a 3K, and obviously you guys have something right there as well. Is there like a high demand for that right now, or are you guys just putting it out there to test it out?
For gaming, tell you the truth, there is obviously certain customers like to have the best out there, so that's why a lot of manufacturers coming out 3K, 4K screens. Personally, I don't play games on 3K because
it's too taxing. Right?
Yeah, it's just really like putting stress on the card, and I don't get as much frame rate. But for work like this, for Quadro unit, they do really need it because they need a better color gamut and also a better resolutions for whatever works that they needed. So we are seeing a much more high demand on the work stuff instead of the gaming side. But obviously, there is still some demands on the 3K, 4K gaming.
I think one of my problems with like 3K and 4K is that, like on Windows right now, there are some scaling issues with certain programs. When do you guys think that will be like resolved? Or
we actually work alongside with Adobe. They do have drivers coming out already. On 3K screens, you can actually like tweak it so that all the icons and everything doesn't really go too small. So there is already out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain programs that are just not optimized for, like, I was doing like Oz Logic, the defrag, and then everything looked really tiny.
Yeah,
and then Chrome looks really soft as well too. I mean, that's more of like, I guess Google just needs to like update their drivers or something.
Yeah,
but it
takes sometimes for the software guys to tweak all those kind of stuff. It's just not that hard. It's that if they're putting their mind into it.
Yeah. Hopefully Windows 9 will have some better scaling. I know Android has good scaling. Maybe iPhone will have good scaling in the next version.
Yeah,
it's, that's what we're hoping for on all the programs to have a easy scaling options for those.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think right now, just looking at these two different laptops, you have like almost in terms of the chassis, you have like two different philosophies. I think you have one that's more for portable, like a thin and light, and then the other one's just like it's. I mean, I've definitely seen bigger notebooks, but it's definitely like a beast.
Yeah.
Like, where are you guys seeing more demand in like the ultra portable?
What would you say is your most popular laptop?
GS60. GS60 ever since it was announced last year.
And that is not a thin laptop, is that?
Well, the GS60 is the gaming
the
equivalent.
GT60 is the thick one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the GT series is the desktop replacement size. So that's what. Those are more for the power users. The people who don't really mind the weight, because all they care about is performance. So those guys, that's our target for the GT series. But ever since, and there has been a trend in terms of thin and light systems of people who want that portability, but still enough power to play their games that they want to on the go. That's where the GS comes in. And ever since it was announced last year and launched, that has probably been our biggest seller and our hottest item ever since then. GS70 Stealth was great, but I think the GS60, since it's in a 15-inch form factor build, even more portable, yet still has that like 870 M graphics card, enough just the GPU that's perfectly at that level where people can still play the games at the graphics they want anywhere they go, and the price and performance on that system as well hits the sweet spot for a lot of people, especially like college students or business men who travel a lot.
The customer market is much wider for a thin and light unit, because for a GT series, the GT Dominator series is more for someone who just want to switch out the desktop into a laptop options, while the thin and light, you can actually hit all the students, you can hit the professional guys, like people like me that travel a lot, and someone that really doesn't need all that power, but they want to have something so that they get good enough to play some games whenever they feels like. So there's the market is much wider on the thin and light market.
At 15 inches, do you still have a full-size keyboard, or?
Yes. So in here you have a full-size keyboard alongside with.
This is the 15.6 inch.
Yeah, this
here?
is the 15.6 inch here. So you have a full-size keyboard along with the keypad on the side too.
Okay.
So
so at what point do you think you have to start slicing buttons off?
14 inches.
14 you'll
14
have
inch,
to.
yeah.
14 we used to have a 14-inch versions before. We don't carry it anymore in US. The market, like, people really need the full-size key in there. Yeah. I used the 14-inch back in the day. It was good, but to me the screen is a little bit too small. I need enough size for me to do Excel and stuff like that. So that's why I used the 15-inch myself.
Yeah. Speaking of screens, I haven't really seen any touch screens on any gaming laptops. I'm just wondering why that is.
So over the last couple of years, we always do feedbacks from end users and stuff like that. We do surveys from all of our customers. We always ask this one question: do you really need touchscreen? I would say less than 15% of our customer base tell us that they need it. It's a nice to have stuff, but it's not a really necessary portion of it. Most of the gamers don't really use touchscreen. Once they go into the game, they don't do it. They play games about 80% of the time, and then another 20% of the time they're serving webs. So that's the whole reason why we haven't get into that. And we are very true believer of having a non-reflective screen unit out there. All of our Full HD screens is non-reflective. If we go ahead and do a touchscreen option, then we'll have to go a reflective screens, which will kind of kick back on the user experience for the gaming.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
also, does it cost a lot more from your perspective to
cost is not a problem. It's more like I'd rather spend the money and make the unit better and thinner and more useful portion of the stuff. So that's the whole reason why we go ahead and keep pushing, like the killer LAN, the killer Wi-Fi. Like this one, we are the first one to put killer AC, and also the use for it is that it will actually go both LAN and wireless in the same time in order to have a much better throughput on the connectivities. Stuff like that we like to push instead of going on some functionality that only maybe 5-10% people that actually need. So that's the kind of stuff that we improve our unit on.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was talking to NVIDIA about the future of notebooks and the notebook market and PC market in general. And it's like you read stories every now and then. It's like PC market's on the decline, or like notebooks are on the decline. But what NVIDIA was telling me is that like while you might have like basic Dell laptop is on the decline, they were saying that like the high end enthusiast notebook, the gaming laptops are actually on the rise. Are you guys seeing that reflected in your numbers?
Definitely. That's the whole reason why about 2-3 years ago in MSI we kind of switched focus on the $500-600 laptop into the full gaming level. As you can see, most of my lineup in here is gaming and also like high-end workstation units. I really don't do too much on the lower end stuff. The whole reason because that's where the market is at. As you can see in the last maybe year or so, there's more and more competitors, manufacturers trying to get.
It's growing a lot.
Yeah, it's growing a lot as like option wise for end users, but number wise, it's still growing for everybody. We're not seeing a decline across anywhere.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh. So do you think that you guys will be insulated if like Microsoft just announced that they want to enter basically the Chromebook space and compete with them there? So do you think you guys will be insulated from any effects from that if there's like a price war?
Not really. I mean, if you look in the car industry, right, there's some people who like to buy luxury cars and some people who want to buy like just normal, maybe Camry or whatever. It's two different markets.
Right.
For us, we're in the luxury area. We're the gaming high-end stuff where there is, other guys that really want just a laptop to go surf the web.
Right.
So it's really a different market.
So you think you guys will be insulated from that then?
Yeah.
Any effects of that?
It's like Cliff said. It's the target that we're hitting is the different crowd. Like the ones that are going after the Chromebooks, they don't need all that power. They don't need those kind of specs or hardware. PC gamers are the ones who are actively searching for something like this.
Of course, but I was just wondering, since we're all part of the same industry, or you're part of the same industry, I'm just wondering if there would be some kind of possible ripple effect.
Right. I don't think it'll really affect us too much. In terms of that.
Yeah. We've heard from the enthusiast system builders like Main Gear and Falcon Northwest that they're doing fine anyway, despite all this talk about PC sales and decline.
Yeah.
So
I actually think some of the reason for that is like there are more PC gaming's on. I mean, it's on the rise again, and that's probably a reason why you see that increase in PC like notebooks, like gaming notebooks, desktop gaming PCs, because it's just the gaming culture now. Like people are being probably more educated in that area and are learning that PC gaming is the same or better than console gaming, or they game on both console and PC. So I think that's one of the reasons why you're starting to see that increase.
Well, I imagine the aggressive game discounts that we see from Steam and other places.
Oh yes,
you can pick up a game that's a couple months old for like $5, $10.
Exactly.
Right. Whereas used console games tend to be a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
Not that I want to get into a argument about.
Are you sure you're not baiting me?
I'm just saying there are certain. It tends to level out in the long run in terms of how much you're spending.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think that whole digital distribution really plays into that.
And also the gaming, the gaming demographic is growing much higher and higher. I remember back when I was in high school, the numbers was that like people from maybe 15 to 18 years old is the real true gamers. Nowadays, the true gamers starting from 12 all the way to like 40 years old now. Like that was like the actual true like research.
Yeah. I mean, well, you're a gamer when you're like 18, and then 20 years later, you're still a gamer,
you still game, and also it's getting younger and younger.
I think PC gaming used to be slightly geeky. That was
also
perception.
Really expensive too.
But the perception from the outside was that was sort of a nerdy, geeky thing to do, and if you were a normal person, you'd stick to the consoles. But I think that's changing now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and you actually earn tons of money if you're really good at it.
Oh yeah, that too. Actually, esports,
pro gaming, League of Legends,
and that's different now too.
Yeah,
and Dota.
Yeah.
I think another reason that's like potentially causing the rise in gaming notebooks is that the processing power, it's getting a lot better, isn't it?
Yeah, if you look in it like, let's just say maybe 6 years ago, you will have to change your unit every generation in order to catch up to actually play the game well. Nowadays, you could even use it for maybe a year-old laptop and it still perform quite well on most of the game. I mean, obviously, you always can't go ultra settings and, full, everything on the top, but you can still play. So right now, performance-wise on the laptops is much better than previously. Back in the days, like I had like maybe 12 years ago, I have a laptop. I couldn't even play StarCraft on it, and that was like the top of the line at that time.
Right. It was all integrated though, right?
Yeah. No. It's
discrete.
It's a discrete.
Okay.
But it was. I mean, it could play, but you have to turn it down to like low settings and everything like as low as possible to actually to run smoothly. But on right now you could easily play everything on even like a mid-range laptop.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Do you guys think that with Broadwell coming, that you're going to see any dramatic changes, or do you think it'll be more subtle?
What coming?
Broadwell, the next successor to Haswell.
I don't know too much yet about in terms of Broadwell to really say anything too accurately about it. I would assume though, like every generation of the Intel chipsets. There's always some sort of performance boost and also as well as battery efficiency,
right,
power efficiency.
Yeah, because this is supposed to be a lower power chip. So
their integrated graphics do seem to be evolving a lot faster in terms of performance than their CPUs.
Yeah,
I think they have a higher a higher ceiling there.
Right.
Yeah,
still not as good as AMD's integrated, but
right.
Yeah, they're actually making pretty great strides there for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Speaking of a battery though. When do you think we'll be able to actually essentially game on battery? Because right now, I mean, like I review gaming laptops, but to be honest, it's like if you really want to game on them,
you get like what, an hour and a half or something.
you plug them into the wall because otherwise it throttles performance.
Yeah,
and that's how I view it, as it's like a portable PC that you plug into the socket.
It's it's a trade-off. You don't buy a hybrid car to go to go on drag racing, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that it is. Obviously, if you want really good performance on a gaming laptop, it would drag a lot of power. Then your battery life will be much shorter. We could easily put in a 20-cell battery on a laptop, but everyone's going to cry about, oh man, it's going to be 20 pounds that I'm carrying around. So we try to do a trade-off, on in between. Like this new unit, we have buttons that you can actually force to go dedicated card even if you're not plugged in.
Yeah.
So that way you can still have a full power, but obviously the battery life will be much shorter. Yeah. It's really a big trade-off. I mean, there is still technology limitation out there. If you need performance, it drag the power down as fast as possible, and it's kind of hard to have a 10-hour battery into a unit which you can still carry around without a luggage.
Yeah. I know, like NVIDIA, there was a lot of talk about the battery boost feature in notebooks, and which we've seen people try it out, and you are still able to game at good frames per second for your games. And I know they're trying to push for that, and we would like to see that for sure. Like being able to actually play unplugged for a decent amount of time to make it like more portable gaming. In terms of when we may see something, see them last longer, I'm assuming, every year they're going to keep improving and trying to increase the amount of performance that you can get while balancing out the amount of battery life you drain from the system. So I think it also has everything to do with plus Intel, with their processor every generation they try to reduce the power consumption. So maybe sometime in the future we might see something more likely of actually being able to play at least 3 to 4 hours unplugged, but how soon I'm not sure. That'll really depend on Intel and NVIDIA, I think everyone too, just how we manufacture the notebooks together.
Have you guys had much luck with NVIDIA battery boost? Because I've tried it, just reviewing these laptops, and I found that, it sounded really good on paper, but when I tried it out,
it's really depending on the game. Some of the games is really optimized to use it, so you get a huge battery boost performance-wise. Some older games might not, so maybe it's just the first generation that they're pushing. I'm pretty sure that NVIDIA will tell you the same thing, that in futures with the newer drivers that NVIDIA is going to come out, it's going to help it a lot. I don't expect it to work 100% perfect for all games to start with, but I would expect when a new driver comes out and also the games, how they optimize it is going to be much better.
Yeah, and for those that are listening that don't know about battery boost, what it is it's a part of NVIDIA's GeForce drivers that throttles the frame rate and optimizes it for battery performance. So in my experience, I haven't really seen too many gains. Maybe I need to run more tests, different games.
Yeah, or maybe
I didn't know it varies.
Maybe it varies between titles. If I remember correctly, some of them have practically nothing, like no performance.
Yeah, I was looping the Metro Last Light.
Yeah, Metro Last Night was pretty bad, I remember. But then
which is weird because it was an NVIDIA aligned game, I believe.
Yeah, but which one was the newest one? I forgot. I saw another review that it have like another newer titles. It have up to like almost like 18% performance in boost, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so
yeah, I know NVIDIA was saying like up to 50%. So 18% is not bad. I mean, that's free.
But then you need to wait until like when they have a better drivers to help it.
I think we'll need to ask NVIDIA what games they were talking about when they said 50%.
Yeah, they said up to, so.
Yeah.
One question that I did have is like, with these laptops are, I mean, especially with like I feel like with NVIDIA's 800 series graphics cards, that delta between like laptop graphics and desktop graphics is like shrinking. It's getting closer, especially with the 800 series. I feel like the high end laptops now look almost as good as like mid-range like discrete desktop parts. I mean, you can really game on these things.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's going to be like, do you think like the processing power in these laptops will get good enough that they'll effectively replace desktops?
Replacing, I wouldn't say, but I mean, obviously, desktop have its own advantage for some stuff, but performance-wise, it's definitely going to be there. The whole reason why the performance is not exactly equal to a desktop is we need to limit how much power it is to drive that card because of thermal issues and also a power consumption issues like you guys was asking, how long the battery life is and stuff like that. And also in a small chassis like this compared to a big tower, it's much harder for heat dissipations and stuff like that. So there is a medium like area that we need to hit in order for it to push how hard the graphic card is. If we actually push 100% and let the unit go melt down and stuff, the performance will be equal. I mean, I can tell you.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, for 5 minutes, and then you're gonna cry about it. Oh, I spent like $2,000 to use it for 5 minutes. So there is a trade-off. So that's the whole reason why. But with NVIDIA is helping to cut down, the power consumption and stuff like that. And with the thermals getting better and better over time, yeah, eventually it will be equivalent, I would say. But maybe by that time, then they will use the same technology on the desktop, which the desktop will have even a better performance overall. So,
Well, I think, like desktop performance, I think will always be better just because they're larger, right? But
just look at like our video cards. We have like the fans like this big, like 5-inch thick, where this one only have a 2.5-inch fan. It's practically impossible to go through the same performance on the same thing.
I mean, we're pretty much transforming a desktop into a smaller form factor to make it easier to transport. That's essentially what it is. And yeah, you would have to probably sacrifice some performance. It's not going to be as comparable as a desktop system, but you're basically what the people are going after is the portability aspect of it, being able to, like, when they need to, more so than a desktop system, right? Being able to do, I still think that on laptops, being able to play, the difference between desktop gaming and laptop gaming is starting to get close. It's getting closer, but it's like you said, you probably will never reach that point just because we are still limited by our the kind of space we're working with.
Yeah, one advantage that desktops do have is like that they're modular,
right?
And some vendors are playing around with that. I know Lenovo, lets you swap in another video card for SLI.
Right.
Like, have you guys played around with that much at all?
Well, actually, on the GT7 II, we actually made an improvement because our community of gamers, they actually like to upgrade the system on their own. So what we did was we designed it so that it's a one single piece design, so it makes it really easy for them to remove the back plate and access like the hard drive, the RAM, everything. So it's easy for them to upgrade the system however they see fit. And the graphics card actually, it's possible to upgrade if you have the know-how to. So they actually have the ability if they are technical.
If you happen to be a hardware engineer.
Exactly.
Well, it's actually not that hard.
Do they have to sign a waiver?
Not really.
Void the warranty.
Yeah.
But it does void the warranty, though, right? Last time I checked, if you opened up the bottom of MSI notebook, it voided the warranty, unless things have changed.
We say that we will void the warranty because we were worried that most of the customers that doesn't really know what they're doing and it will damage the unit. As long as there's no physical damage and stuff like that, and it just...
So you heard it here, folks. You can on this podcast, it was a 228. It's like, hey, I heard Clifford, it said you can just open up the laptop.
Yeah, so like we usually look in the unit. If there is no physical damage and if it's actually like normal failure of MSI parts, we will definitely honor all the warranty. But if they change the parts and that parts goes fail, then it's out of our hands. Then obviously the end users will have to take care of themselves. The whole idea of using this is that it's very easy. You just take out 7 screws and there's a handle right here. You just popped it open. You can access to everything in the unit. You can access all the memory. You can access like all the hard drives. You can access graphic card if you want to. Everything is upgradable now. So that's the whole idea why we completely revamped the whole design of this unit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mod it. I'm gonna add like water cooling.
Yeah, could you add an extra cooler for the CPU or something?
Oh, if you want to mod it yourself, yeah, you could.
That will void your warranty though.
Yeah, it's actually not that hard if you have the know-how. I mean, for most of the desktop, customers out there, they kind of know what they're doing. It's very easy to upgrade everything into a laptop. This laptop is basically a desktop in a compact form factor.
Yeah, cool. And I believe you guys are part of something called the OptiBoost program. Where you can choose parts as well.
Yes, with iBuy.
With iBuy Power.
Yes.
Okay.
iBuy Power, is one of our customers, which they comes out something new this year, which on top of selling their own iBuy Power brand, they also go ahead and start offering all these other manufacturers units, and you can pick and choose whichever parts that you want. We have a lot of other customers out there also previously that is actually doing that. What's good about those is MSI comes out certain factors like let's just say the GT70 unit, which we're currently having. I have 14 different SKUs, which there's only 14 different options of memory, hard drive, CPU, graphic cards. It doesn't fit every single one out there. Some customers might want Corsair memory over Kingston memory, or have 8 data SSD versus whoever SSD. Those kind of guys is the way to give them exact perfect configuration the way that they want. So that's why we're part of the OptiBoost with iBuy Power on that.
This is basically a way of allowing us to allow customers to personalize their system builds, know. So because we just don't have the.
No matter how many SKUs that I build, even up to 100 SKUs out there, I might only be able to fit for maybe 80% of the customers out there.
So iBuy Power, did they provide a wider variety of RAM?
You can nitpick exactly which memory, which exact hard drive, which exact whatever that you want into the unit. So that's what they offer. We also have a bunch of other customers out there that do the same type of technologies or like options out there too.
Yeah. So it's like PC part picker for like laptops essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's cool.
You can pick whichever exact stuff that you want.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask why? So I review gaming notebooks, but I have not received from any vendor a gaming notebook with an AMD graphics card. Including you guys, obviously. Can you sort of explain what?
We actually do have a series which called the GX Destroyer. We actually is the only one that have the AMD plus AMD option out there. We work really closely with AMD to have a better drivers to play games and stuff like that. How can we?
Has there just not as been much demand, or is AMD not pushing it as hard, or?
demand is depends on their customer. There's definitely a bunch of customers who will go all out on AMD, and there's obviously some other customers like to go with like NVIDIA, Intel options. So there is demands on both sides. But on our skills, we have more skills on Intel NVIDIA versus the AMD plus AMD. Yeah, but we do have those. I mean, if you're interested, we can definitely work it out.
I was just curious. I mean, I'll review whatever you guys send me.
There is definitely less option out there. I would say to use the AMD gaming notebook out there. It's very hard to work with them to get the right drivers out and everything like that. But we work really closely with AMD in order to get the newer driver out. We were actually the first one that comes out the R9 plus 8970. Yeah, we were the first one to come out that, and then we upgrade to the 9000 level with them.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any more questions? I'm gonna just move it over to read questions.
That's fine.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna. I asked the readers to submit you guys some questions, so if you guys don't mind. Tony Di Sabatino, I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Twitter asks, I have $1,000 for a new notebook. What is the best system MSI offers in my price range?
In that price range, I would offer the GE Apache.
Yeah.
GE Apache, which is options to have a i7 with an 860 graphic card. There is, if you want to go a little bit lower than $1,000, there is a GP series, which is using a
850.
Like 840 graphic card.
Yeah.
We kind of line them up differently, but I would highly recommend just spend a little tiny bit more and use the GE Apache, because that's you'll definitely get more performance out on that little tiny more money.
Yeah, and it's still pretty portable too. It's not like the GT series here. It's like right in between the GT and the GS series in terms of the size. So it's still very, very much portable. And it still is still more than capable to play the games he wants to play. It may not be at maximum settings, but just enough to play the games he wants. Probably at the standard or
like medium settings.
Medium to
like
high.
Diablo, you can go a little bit high.
Yeah. So it's that's definitely GE Apache would be the one we would recommend for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys actually brought that up, the Apache, because the next reader has a comment about that actually. Donnie M from Facebook asked, the GE60 Apache Pro is an amazing notebook, but it runs extremely hot, even when it's docked in a cooling fan. What exactly goes into testing the thermals to ensure that they are within safe limits for longevity reasons? What was the decision behind a single fan design rather than dual?
Okay, so previous generations we have single fan design on a couple of our units. We have tested a lot of stuff. Our limitation is somewhere around maybe 90 degree or so. It's hot. So usually when it hits up to somewhere 80 something degree, then the fan goes like full force. I'm not sure exactly what's the room temperature and stuff like that they're testing on it, but if the customers really feels there's some issues on the unit, feel free to contact our tech support. We can definitely go take a look at the unit. We usually don't have that much complaints on the heat units on that. But if the customers really care, we can definitely take a look at it. And then in the future, we realized that people going a little bit more on the overclocking and really pushing the graphic card to the top of the line and stuff like that. So that's the whole reason why we go ahead and use dual fans in the GT72, because this is the top of the line. But in the GE series, we are not going to. So far, we still haven't planned to come out with dual fan solutions.
Yeah. Okay. Brendan Patrick Lyon asks, are they planning to make an affordable mid-range gaming laptop?
Affordable mid-range gaming laptop, that would probably be our GP GE Apache series. I mean, anytime you see a mid-range gaming laptop, they usually at least start off around like $1,000. That's
so affordable is kind of relative.
That's exactly what.
It's like what is a cheap sports car, luxury sports car?
So that's the thing. Like, I mean, if you're talking about in terms of gaming notebook wise, that's what's considered mid-range, like more affordable.
Yeah.
Like if you still want to have that performance, that is actually pretty standard in terms of gaming laptops. That's usually where they start.
Like $1,000 to $1,500 is a mid-range. Most people call a $1,299 a very affordable gaming laptop. So we do have a couple different options on that range. GE or even like a lower end GT Dominator series, it goes all the way down to $1,399 sometimes. On a very it really depends on what I usually recommend when the customers usually ask me, it's like, okay, so what's the laptop for me? I usually ask them the first question, what game do you play? If you're looking at like an FPS or stuff like that, which really high demand, I will recommend you to go with anything with 870 or above, because every frame counts. If you're playing Diablo, or something more casual, you can, League of Legends, you can go 850, 860. If you're playing Minecraft, go with 840 or something lower than that. It's really depending on what you do. I usually don't look at the price first. I usually look at what you do first. Like people like me, like when I travel, I go Diablo and stuff like that. I still use my GS, which is the 870, because sometimes I play Titanfall in there and stuff like that. So it's just really depending on what you play more than that. And obviously, I understand that dollar sign is a big issue for most customers. But from what you do, you choose from the graphic card, then you can choose what kind of specification out from that graphic card options there is for you. And you can always upgrade it later on down the line if you want to. Cool. Save up another $100, pop a SSD. I highly recommend SSD. Once you go SSD, you can't go back.
I was gonna ask, do you have any configurations that are only solid state storage?
Actually,
no.
We don't have only solid state, but we usually have a SSD plus a hard drive option. I mod my own. I have two M.2 SATAs plus a 2.5 SSD on the side. But usually you don't. Like, we put the OS into the SSD. We don't put the OS into the 2.5. So you already get the speed out there. The 2.5 out there is basically for you to put in storage. Your video, your movies, just your music, whatever you want to put in there.
Yeah, I want to say Razer's new, ultra thin. I think it only ships with the MSAT. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you can only fit like one drive in there.
Yeah, so they only have a one drive in there. I think the highest that they have is 256. If I remember correctly.
It's not even 512, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I don't update the website. So I update my own. So I mean, like depending on what you want to do, some customers might not need that space. Some customers might want to have the size. So we have a lot of options. If you don't like, you can pull it out.
Yeah. Cool. So that about wraps it up. Unless you had any other questions.
That was it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, I know. Well, our readers ask us to bring in guests, and I thought it'd be cool if you guys, I know you guys are swinging by today, so I figured I'd take advantage of that.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so if you're hearing this, you can check us out online at MaximumPC.com. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can email us at MaximumPCPodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a message at our 24-hour No BS hotline at 1-877-404-1337, extension 1337. You can subscribe to us on Google Play, iTunes, Kindle, Nook, and Zinio. On behalf of Tom, myself, and Vincent and Cliff, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.